You know that feeling when you're stuck in the same old argument with the same person? Again? It's like you're reading from a script you didn't even write. Well, what if I told you that there is a script? That our relationships, at home, at work, everywhere, are kind of governed by these hidden rules. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on those rules. And trust me, it's going to give you a totally new way to see everything. Okay, so this quote right here, this is basically the key to the whole thing. It says, you can't really get what's going on with someone without looking at their family, their context. You can't understand a person in a vacuum, right? To get why someone acts a certain way, you have to look at the system they're living in. It's a huge idea, honestly, and we're going to break down exactly what that means. So, to really get how this works, we're not going to just talk theory. No, let's look at a real-world case. We're going to treat it like a puzzle that we can solve together piece by piece. All right, part one of our puzzle. And this is where the story usually begins, with what looks like one person's problem and one person's alone.
Okay, so this is Alejandro. He's 32. He's in a residential treatment facility, and the official story is that he has an alcohol use disorder and he's just relapsed. Now, if you just look at this slide, the problem seems pretty straightforward, right? It's his problem. End of story.
So, of course, the big question is, why? Why did he relapse? And the easy, knee-jerk answer points right at Alejandro. It's got to be about his choices, his willpower, his personal issues. Seems simple enough. But you know it's not going to be that simple, right? The easy answer almost never tells the whole story.
So to get to the real story, we have to do something crucial. We need to pull the camera back, way back. Let's zoom out from just Alejandro and look at the whole environment he's in. This is where we start to see the system that's been hiding in plain sight.
Okay, so layer one, that's our starting point. It's Alejandro. He's the guy with the official problem, the one everyone is focused on. In systems theory, they'd call him the identified patient.
But wait, let's add another layer to this. His clinician. She wasn't just some neutral observer. She was new on the job, and she was feeling pretty anxious, worried about what her colleagues thought of her. So she's bringing her own stuff to the table, and it gets bigger. Layer three, the rest of the staff. You'd think they'd be a solid team, but nope, they were totally divided. They couldn't agree on how to handle relapses, and things were tense. So that tension is just humming in the background of the whole place. And now for the final, biggest layer, the organization itself. Turns out this facility had its own history. A history of secrets, other patients using substances, some really controversial discharges. The whole place was soaked in this climate of mistrust and betrayal. It was just in the walls. So now look, when you see all four of these layers together, everything changes. That one-person view where the problem is in Alejandro, it just kind of dissolves. Instead, you see that the problem was actually co-created by the entire system. His relapse wasn't just his relapse. It was a symptom. It was the system basically crying out for help. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about this one clinic. This is how all human systems work. Your family, your workplace, your group of friends, they all run on these predictable, invisible rules. So let's actually dig into what some of those rules are. Okay, the first concept you gotta know is this big one, homeostasis. The easiest way to think about it is like a thermostat in your house. Every family, every team has an emotional thermostat set to a specific temperature. And here's the crazy part. Even if that temperature is anxious or constantly fighting, the system will do everything it can to stay right there. It craves that balance, even if the balance is totally messed up. And you can see this in something super modern, like technoference. Yeah, that's a real term. Look at this. A new smartphone enters the family. It messes with the old ways of talking. So what does the system do to get back to a state of balance, to find that homeostasis? Well, maybe everyone just spends more time on their devices. There's less face-to-face chat. See? The system has found a new balance, but it's a balance that leads to people feeling more disconnected. And inside these big systems, you have all these little subsystems, like the parents' relationship, the bond between the kids, or different cliques at work. Each one of these little groups has its own rules and boundaries, and they all feed into the bigger picture. So, once you start to see these rules and you see the patterns, something amazing happens. You're not just a victim of the system anymore. You're not just a piece on the board. You actually get the power to change it. You can become the one who shifts the whole dynamic. Check out this story. It's a real case about a woman, let's call her Miss A. Back in 2013, she decides to start working on her own role in her family drama. Then, bam, a crisis hits. Her son gets arrested, and the whole family's anxiety just shoots through the roof. This is what you'd call a nodal event. But here's the key. Instead of falling back into the old patterns, Miss A does something different. She focuses on her part. And fast forward to 2016, the problems across the entire family have gone way, way down. All because one person changed their moves. And get this. This wasn't just in her head, it was in her body. This chart is literally measuring her stress level by her palm sweat. Look at the difference between September 2013 when she started and March 2014. Her physical, biological stress response took a nosedive. By changing her role in the system, she literally physically became calmer. Here's how this looks in the real world. Say at a school, you've got a student coming back after treatment for an eating disorder. The old way would be to just focus on the student. But the system's way? Look at the steps. You meet with the family. You create a team of support with the nurse and teachers. You build support into the system. It's not about fixing the kid, it's about changing the whole environment to help them succeed. So when you put all of this together, it really does give you a completely new set of eyes for your own world. It's not just a cool theory, it's a deep shift in how you see, well, everything. And if you remember one thing, let it be this. The point isn't to find someone to blame. It's to find the pattern. It shifts us away from asking, whose fault is it, and gets us to ask, what's the dance we're all doing here? Because we all have a role in it.
So why does any of this matter to you? Well, because it means you can look at that argument you always have with your partner or your parents and see the pattern, not just the anger. You can understand why things at work feel so stuck. And here's the most powerful part. It shows you that the best way to change a relationship isn't to try to change the other person. It's to change your own steps in the dance. You move from whose fault is it to what's our pattern and what's one different thing I can do right now.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. What are the hidden systems running in your life? At home, with your family, at your job? And once you start to see the outlines of that system, what role are you playing in it?